Hello, I'm Benjamin Limmer, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation, and I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll share exciting news and updates and explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. Hello and welcome to another episode of Along the Lines. I'm your host, Ben Limmer. During the development of our Customer Experience Action Plan, we received invaluable public input that resonated loudly and clearly with the evolving needs of Connecticut's workforce. The feedback emphasized the need for bus services 7 days a week, catering to transit-dependent individuals as those who also choose public transportation. Additionally, there was a strong call for expanded service hours to accommodate those working second or third shift jobs. Thanks to Governor Lamont and the Connecticut State Legislature, the biennial budget now reflects a substantial investment for expanding Connecticut's robust bus service. This investment is crucial in bolstering the state's economy, as the increased service and expanded operational hours will notably improve accessibility to employment and educational opportunities across the state. The initial phase of service expansion went into effect this past fall, and there's another round anticipated to commence this spring. So today I am delighted to have with me Lisa Rivers, Public Transportation Administrator at the Connecticut DOT, as well as Michael Carroll, General Manager of the Southeast Area Transit District, located in Preston in southeastern Connecticut. And we are going to delve into all of the details. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ben. Great to be here. Nice to see you again, Mike.
Thank you. I'm glad to participate.
So, Lisa, before we get into all the specifics about the upcoming schedule enhancements, could you fill in our listeners on the process that we use to decide which services are most ideal, most cost-effective to expand?
For a process, we reach out to the service providers, whether it's the transit districts or the private companies that operate our CT transit services, and look for input on what the needs are. They would have been gathering that information all along based on the customer comments that are coming into them, what the drivers see while they're out there. And we then look at what types of major generators there are in the area of the routes that are going to be serving them. So, for example, is it going to an industrial park? Is it going to a community college? Other types of employment and or shopping, healthcare, those types of destinations. And then look at whether we would be expanding access to those areas by improving these services.
No, that's excellent. Lisa, for those that don't know, is there what are the technical aspects of planning a new route?
Well, technical aspects. So it comes down to, looking at the generators again. You're checking the running time for the routes themselves. You've got to make sure that the bus is actually able to navigate the intersections, stop at the stops. Cars can make different maneuvers than you can make with a 40-foot transit bus. And you want to be able to run your route as effectively and efficiently as possible and not get stuck in certain traffic situations.
Okay, pivoting back to the public, how do we involve the public with all of the service enhancements?
Using our customer experience plan, we had identified our customer experience plan outreach, we identified a number of requests for types of service improvements, people looking for more frequency, but also looking for access to employment, to get to or from a second shift job, new employment locations, and then working with what the drivers hear, working with what we get from customers calling in to make requests for service. All of those pieces come together to help us identify where service might be needed.
So I have a question for both of you. Mike, I'll start with you though. What benefits will your customers see with your additional routes and expanded hours? And if I recall correctly, you have some additional service on Sundays. So what are some of those benefits?
That's exactly right, Ben. We reached back to a service study that we conducted, quite some time ago, about 7 or 8 years ago, that had a number of recommendations for expanded service. And unfortunately, because of budget constraints, we were never able to implement those. So we went back to that and looked at that in our recommendations to the department when this additional funding became available. So one of the main things you touched upon is bringing back Sunday service, but not only just bringing it back to what it was prior to the COVID pandemic, but to actually expand and grow upon it, both in terms of the span on Sundays. So we plan on operating from roughly 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. It used to run from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then also expand the coverage and have some local service in Groton, New London, and Norwich, are three big communities here, along with connecting lines as well, and serving both of our casinos that we serve, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. And then we have a new local route running in Groton that is scheduled to start up, and then expanding hours of operation in our core service, our daytime service, running an extra hour in the late afternoon, evening, up until 8 o'clock in the evening, as opposed to coming off the street at 7 o'clock. And then also expanding one of the lines that goes over to Niantic. If those people who are familiar in our service area, that's sort of on the western edge of our service area. That service used to only run Monday through Friday. We're able to expand it by adding a couple extra hours every day, and also offer it on Sundays as well. So those sort of things, we're going to really grow the service, which we very much want to do. And then we also have a shuttle to Electric Boat, which is one of the major employers and is growing rapidly with the expansion of the submarine force for the U.S. Navy. So we're going to start small, but we've got a plan employment shuttle to run from our Norwich Transportation Center down to EB. Been talking to the folks at EB about the best hours and which shifts we need to cover. So we're finalizing those plans as well as I speak. So we're excited about all this expansion that we've got scheduled to start, hopefully sometime late this spring.
Oh, it certainly sounds very exciting. Lisa, back to you. Before we get to the upcoming bus service enhancements, can you highlight some of the bus service enhancements that started this past fall?
Going back to how do we take requests and how do we find out, what the folks want. For probably 20 years, we've had requests for improved service between Waterbury and Naugatuck. We've had the budget constraints that haven't allowed us to have that service run all day. But with these expansions, we rolled out service now that runs all day long between Waterbury and Naugatuck, and it will provide access to employment at a Amazon facility that's going to be built in the Naugatuck area. We've also finally made our Meriden service. It better matches the needs of the public. So Meriden is a city of over 60,000 individuals, but their bus service ran Monday through Saturday, and it shut down at around 5 p.m. So there was no evening service. There was no Sunday service. If you wanted to work at the mall, if you wanted to work at the medical center and you didn't have a vehicle, you didn't have a bus system you could rely on to access that employment opportunity.
So what about the service improvements that are coming up this spring? What can
Those are really
people look
exciting.
forward
So
to?
we did have difficulty getting these services launched because we have trouble getting bus operators these days. So if anybody's interested in a job, bus operators, it's a pretty good paying job. So coming in March, we're looking at making significant improvements to our New Britain division of CT Transit. So we'll be rolling out a number of improvements, including improving access in Bristol so folks can get to the Adult Education Center. They can get to different employment opportunities. in southern Bristol. Also a route, a brand new route, first time down into Southington, Connecticut. Southington has been asking for bus service for probably 10 years now, and including improvements that will provide the northern end of Meriden access to employment opportunities from the New Britain area, so the bi-directional service. There's also going to be new service in the New Haven division that will provide access to Honeywell Life Safety in, I think it's North Branford. Improvements to service to the Orange Industrial Park, so we'll be adding an express bus in there. Stamford system improvements. The Housatonic Area Regional Transit has a new route in Western Danbury. There's a whole host of things coming out there.
It's certainly exciting. Mike, back to you. Do you want to shed any additional light on the service improvements that your customers will see within seat service area?
Sure, I'd be glad to. One of the things that is also coming forward with some initiatives from both the governor's office and the General Assembly is a microtransit pilot project. And we were successful at SEAT in getting several of our plans approved. So we've got some microtransit services that will be starting up also late spring. One of those areas will be to serve the eastern portion of the city town of Groton, the Mystic Noank area of Groton, if people are familiar with that area, which has heretofore been unserved by public transit. And also the Quaker Hill region of Waterford, also an unserved area, and expand our microtransit service in the town of Stonington to offer microtransit service on Sundays. And then finally to run a really late night service in New London up until 1 o'clock in the morning, primarily to support 3 of the local colleges in that area, to provide an opportunity for students who don't have access to a car to provide a public transit opportunity for them as well. So we're excited about that as well. And as Lisa touched upon, all of us in the industry and anybody that drives professionally knows the challenge, of course, is hiring operators. So if you're in Southeast Connecticut and are looking for a good paying job with excellent benefits, come on and apply at SEAT. We're looking for both CDL operators and non-CDL operators because you don't need a CDL for the microtransit service.
That's exactly right. Excellent recruitment plug there to our listeners to come try your skills at being a bus operator. We could certainly use them within Connecticut. Mike, Lisa, both of you know this, a key, probably the most key ingredient to a successful bus route is connecting to major employment centers. Mike, I was hoping just to talk about one of the new routes you have. You briefly mentioned it. I think it's the route 623 to service Electric Boat. As many of our listeners know, EB is one of the largest employers in southeastern Connecticut. So, Mike, in your view, how do these service improvements in general or specific to Route 623 benefit both the local as well as the regional economy?
Well, sure, you're exactly right. I mean, EB is a major employer in Southeast Connecticut. So it's actually 627, which was a recommendation from the service study running basically between Avery Point, Eastern Point in Groton, all the way up to the sub base, which would of course include EB and also Pfizer as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at running an employment shuttle, dedicated employment shuttle from our Norwich Transportation Center to perhaps alleviate some of the parking concerns. That's one of the big issues that they face in Groton with Electric Boat is where do they park all these new employees that they're bringing in? And that was a problem back in the early 80s, which actually is some of the reasons that SEAT actually began was to provide employment shuttles for EB during the Navy buildup in the early 80s. And now we're once again having to replace all those boats for the Navy. So EB is ramping up to expand the Navy submarine fleet. So we've got a number of new folks coming into Southeast Connecticut, being hired by Electric Boat and looking for a place to park. So we're going to try to provide at least a small solution, and perhaps we can grow that as it continues to grow as well. So we're excited about all of these opportunities, and also connecting on the 627, the sub base, to EB and to Avery Point, Yukon, et cetera. So So I think there's a good growth opportunity there for particularly the town of Groton.
Oh, that's excellent. Mike, I don't usually do this, but thought I'd give you the opportunity to ask ask a question of Lisa. Or is there anything that we missed about SEAT in southeastern Connecticut?
No, I guess like I said earlier, the challenge, of course, is hiring folks at all levels, operators and mechanics as well. And also, we're looking to try to expand staff because as we expand this service, there are new federal and state requirements, reporting requirements, et cetera. So sometimes it's a challenge in a small organization to deal with some of these issues, and we want to certainly be able to provide the most effective and best service that we can to our communities.
Yeah, I have a feeling Lisa has a thought or two on that. It is a topic that we here at the DOT talk about often, and that is what can we do as a state to provide needed support to all of our transit providers throughout our state with ensuring you have all of the resources necessary to provide services. So, Lisa, any thoughts, reactions to what Mike said?
We're always here and listening and trying to find better ways to support our transit district systems in terms of any centralization we can do, any support services we could offer in a more centralized manner. So we have the statewide insurance consortium. We have a statewide drug and alcohol testing program for all of the operators and safety sensitive positions. So there's all sorts of other things that we could potentially look at what we could do to assist the districts. Some kind of a statewide HR program, and even offering legal support for the district so they don't all have to pay for this, seek it out, and obtain it on their own, that it's just on call, on demand as they need it.
Finally, Lisa, where can all of our listeners find information about new schedules, new routes, anything related to bus public transportation?
Well, for anything related to public transportation, you can go to ctrides.com. They have a whole host of resources, not just bus and rail, but they can provide information about, carpool, vanpool opportunities, all sorts of information. But also the individual operators' websites within your area. So there's cttransit.com, which covers all of the CT Transit service areas, but there's, SEAT has their own website, Bridgeport, Valley, Housatonic, Wyndham, River Valley has their own website. So those are, and as well as Norwalk. So those are all some of the service areas that are going to be having expanded services. So stay tuned.
And a big special thank you to our guests today, Lisa Rivers and Michael Carroll, who joined us for an engaging discussion on bus services. By examining Connecticut's expansive public transportation network, we uncovered its essential role in shaping the state's economy and influencing the broader region. Beyond the overall economic impact, though, this intricate network significantly contributes to the state's overall quality of life as it serves as a magnet for residents and businesses alike. And let's not overlook the environmental perspective. Public transportation plays a pivotal role in enhancing air quality and reducing our carbon footprint, making it an essential component of sustainable living. For many residents, our transit system is more than just a convenience, it's a lifeline. From accessing educational and employment opportunities to facilitating discretionary travel, it connects people to various aspects of life. Responding to the needs of our valued customers, we're thrilled to announce service enhancements that will create even more possibilities for them. So stay tuned for an exciting ride with us on buses and trains as we continue to evolve and improve, bringing you enhanced services and opportunities. Thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to have you on board. Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Benjamin Limmer. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.